Turn one soul ring.
Bam, bam.
What song was that you were doing?
I don't know what it's called.
But it goes, I've got the power.
Yeah, it's really old. It's like in commercials and shit.
Oh,
Okay. I've got the power.
do you remember that? I don't know. You remember when like when DVDs first came out and they had like ads for like just DVD as a product, and it would be like, "We're gonna need a hero," and it would play that song, and there was just a montage of all like heroic characters from DVDs. Man, that takes me back.
Good stuff.
Or when like VHS tapes first started to have special features, but it would be at like the end of the tape. So like you couldn't really make selections. It would just like take you through the special features. I remember our copy of X-Men had that. Like the first one with like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
Yeah.
From like the late 90s. Yeah. And then like DVDs came out and it was all just like, you know.
I don't
on the
remember
menu.
special features from VHSs.
I also had a copy of the Gargoyles movie, which is actually just the first 4 episodes of the show.
Okay.
And it came with like a game, like a board game kind of thing that you could so like at the end of the tape, you'd have to like interact with it and like pause and rewind. It really wasn't that great.
Not worth it.
It's not really worth it. But Gargoyles though is good. Like
Super
Gargoyles
good,
stands
yeah.
up. Yeah. I think you can. I wonder if you can watch it on Disney Plus. Or if it's like a Disney.
I think it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah. I should
Totally.
check that out. It got a little weird when they got into all like the time travel stuff. That was a little bit strange, but like the first like couple seasons are pretty solid. But yeah, anyways, it's always nice when a show like kind of stands the test of time.
Oh, totally.
Like well, can you say Dragon Ball Z did, cuz they did that whole Dragon Ball Z Kai thing? I think Dragon Ball Z is still good, but
Sure.
it's a bit of I don't know if it's acquired taste, but it's just like that kind of genre in general is like, you know, a lot of people don't like it, right?
Yeah.
It's sort of like the antics that go along with like a sort of like the anime genre.
Can't think of a show, but like, because I just watched it because I borrowed it from you, but that Transformers movie
Oh yeah.
so stands the test of time. Everything about that is so good.
Oh yeah. Then the show too like got a little weird after that too. Like the show's not so good, but they made that movie in between a couple of seasons of the show. So I think it was like the first 1 or 2 seasons, and then they did the movie, and then they did a few more seasons. But it gets really weird. Like they bring back Optimus from the dead, and then like there's like a ghost of Starscream in another episode, which is kind of weird.
I remember the ghost.
And then like they have like Unicron's head is like still floating around like at the end of the movie, but he's like still like
Doing
conscious
things.
and he's like
Yeah.
evil. So anyways, yeah, it gets kind of weird, but the movie itself is just gold. Like Transformers the movie is a fantastic film. But
I wonder if Beast Wars holds up.
I think Beast Wars does hold up. I watched well, I don't know. I think I watched it when I was like in my early 20s. You could watch the whole thing on YouTube, and you might still be able to, but I watched it and it was still pretty good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Beast Machines though, remember when they went or it was like Beasties? It had a different name in Canada and the United States.
Oh.
But it was the one where they go back to Cybertron and like Megatron gets there first through time travel and he like makes everybody evil. And then like Rhinox is also a bad guy now, but it turns out Rhinox was evil all along. It's just like
I kind of
get out
remember
of here.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of silly.
Cheetor and Rat Trap. Yeah.
Oh yeah, classics. Yeah. But anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about today.
It's not
Yeah.
Transformers.
Yeah, we should do a deck tech on that like Grimlock that like specialty card from
we should.
from HasCon a few years ago.
Yeah. This deck is more than meets the eye.
It's just transform tribal, yeah, from the vault. But this is turn 1 Soul Ring, and I'm Kevin.
And I'm Eric.
And today on the show, we're going to be dexplaining Eric's Kroxa Titan of Death's Hunger commander deck.
So here we are in Theros.
That's right.
And to kick off Theros, this good old deck here.
Yeah, you actually get a pretty good, because like the picture of Kroxa on the card art itself it's like sort of like forced perspective because you're getting it from his foot up.
Yeah.
So it's not, you don't get a real good look at his face, but he looks like he has like a gaping maw on where his tummy would be, and also on his mouth, but you get a pretty good look at his face on the card Eat to Extinction, which
Yeah.
I felt the brunt of it pre-release. It's that one's like 3 and a black for an instant. Exile target creature or planeswalker. Look at the top card of your library. You may put that card into your graveyard. So it's like a pretty solid card. But
Card's also so flavorful.
yeah, so
It's like he's eating, and then you like can put another card in the graveyard. Like,
Yeah.
it's good.
yeah, and the flavor text is Kroxa devours what he may, not for sustenance or pleasure, but because it is his nature. He is unending hunger given form. Whew. Nice. Before we get to the deck categories, like we always do, we're going to cover some of the lore behind the commander that's helming this deck.
Yeah, Mr. Kroxa.
But first, let's read Kroxa.
Yeah. So Kroxa only costs 1 black and 1 red for a 6/6. What?
Stop right there.
That's all we need.
Yep.
So when Kroxa enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless it escaped. Whenever Kroxa enters the battlefield or attacks, each opponent discards a card. Then each opponent who didn't discard a non-land card this way takes 3 life. Loses 3 life, I should say. Yeah. And then you can escape for 2 black and 2 red, and you exile 5 of the cards.
Yeah, what was really interesting about these, there's 2 of these guys that there's also a Simic one right in this set that you have to, if you don't escape it, you have to sacrifice it.
Yeah.
But what Eric said back in our set review episode a couple episodes ago was that you could use Torpor Orb to shut this off.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't get the ETB, but it's also an attack trigger, which is something I didn't even think about, like using Torpor Orb on myself.
Yeah, totally. So you can use like Torpor Orb, Hushbringer.
Hushbringer, yeah.
Yeah. Of course, in Commander, you have to use Torpor Orb because Hushbringer is in white.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. It's
but yeah, so then it's still in the attack trigger. So it's like if you can't get that off, you're like, oh, I'm swinging like on turn 4 with a 6/6.
no kidding.
And everyone has to discard still.
Ooh, yeah. So, he's a big boy. He's what is he, an Elder Titan?
Elder Giant.
Elder Giant.
Yeah.
But he is a
Which
Titan.
is a Titan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I looked into the lore, and there isn't a ton about this guy here at the moment, but he's, of course, a Titan, and he's possessed by never-ending hunger. But this is what I got. It's pretty brief. So centuries ago, before the gods of Theros rose to power, the Titans, horrific primal urges made flesh, roamed the mortal realm, sowing death and destruction in their wake. Kind of sounds like some other Titans I know. The mortals of Theros were powerless to defend themselves, so they turned to prayer in their hour of need. Okay.
Yeah.
From this prayer, this concentrated devotion sprang forth the gods themselves.
Hey.
That's pretty cool. Can you imagine if it actually worked like that?
We'd see gods.
Yeah. Imbued with incredible power by the faith of mortals, the gods sealed the Titans away in the underworld, which is what we kind of see in the trailer, and we're seeing a lot of like the underworld like breaking free. And there is actually, you can expand on this about how these Titans escaped again, but we're not going to do that here. Basically, this really reminded me of like Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, trapped with the other 2 Eldrazi Titans on Zendikar for thousands of years. So, and it was like, it was like Erebos' job to like make sure that they stayed sealed in the underworld, just like Nahiri on Zendikar.
It's also pretty interesting. Like I do know that for the stories they will pull from other things. Obviously, Theros is very much Greek based.
Exactly.
Even the whole thing with the gods and the Titans is very based on
Clash of the Titans.
Yeah.
Is that what you're gonna say?
That and also like Hercules. Like.
Oh yeah, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Mm-hmm. That's a good one. That's a good Disney movie. Mm-hmm. That might have been the first soundtrack I ever had on tape.
Nice.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Tapes, everyone?
I had the Small Soldiers tape.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. God, that makes me feel old.
Anyways.
And Small Soldiers. I wonder if that movie holds up. I bet it doesn't.
I think I actually watched it not too long ago, like 4 or 5 years ago. I still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I think there's some things that are a little...
Well,
and it's still kind of...
And when you have, like, the nostalgic...
Yeah.
It's like, I went to see, like, every year at the concert hall, they'll do, like, a movie, and they'll play the music, but it's the orchestra playing the music. So, like, they've done, like, Home Alone or, like, Harry Potter. They did Jurassic Park, I think. I missed that one. That's too bad.
Ooh.
But we went to see like E.T. and I never saw E.T. when I was a kid.
Okay.
And like we're both a little too old for like the E.T. But the E.T. I just sort of found it really annoying. Like I sort of found Elliot really, really annoying. So,
I have not gone back and watched that movie either, so.
and I had never seen it before. That was my first time
yeah.
seeing it as like, like almost a 30-year-old person. So,
I mean, I don't really care to.
No, of course not. But anyways, so yeah, let's get to the categories of the deck. But actually, before we do that, how does this deck win, Eric?
So this is quite an interesting deck. It is all built. It's not quite built around Kroxa himself, but the deck is built around the theme of Kroxa, which is discarding cards and damaging people for it.
Yeah, and this is actually, first of all, that's a great, way to build a deck because you don't want to build your deck completely around your commander. Just kind of, you want the deck to be able to do what you want it to do without needing the commander because we've all found ourselves in situations where the commander's just too expensive to cast.
Totally.
Right? Or it's been imprisoned in the moon or
something like that.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But another thing about this strategy is it's relatively uncommon to have like a discard type of deck.
Very uncommon. And I think people don't like to have their cards discarded either. As we always talk about how people don't like their toys taken away from them.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So I did title this deck very much so, No Hand for You.
Yep.
A little bit of Seinfeld there.
Yep. Soup Nazi. Yeah, but yeah, it's just it's not something you see very often, and it is extremely powerful. Like I think that's probably why the card Mind Twist is banned in Commander because it's just X black.
Yeah.
Target player discards X cards.
Totally.
That's not fair.
Not quite. So this deck is quite interesting. If you play it, just at some random LGSs. Some people may not like you.
With a bunch of randos?
Yeah. But after building this deck, it just seems like a lot of fun. It can do some pretty neat things. And so we'll get into that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll start us off with the first category here. We have the draw/discard damage.
Yeah.
So first up, we've got Fate Unraveler. It's 3 and a black for an enchantment creature, Hag, 3/4. Whenever an opponent draws a card, Fate Unraveler deals 1 damage to that player. So yeah, I imagine all this like 1 damage, 2 damage is probably going to add up, right?
That's the hope behind it all. So next up is the Fell Spectre. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent discards a card, and then whenever an opponent discards a card, that player loses 2 life. That second part we'll be seeing a lot. This one's kind of interesting because it does some sad sap is going to be the first one to feel the pain.
Yeah, target opponent. Don't roll a dice.
No, don't do that.
That's turn 1 stance. Don't roll a dice. Next up we have Keterect Parasite. It's a creature horror. Yeah, that was a little tricky, but I sounded it out in my head first. It's 1 black for a 1/1. Whenever an opponent draws a card, if you control a red permanent, you may have Keterect Parasite deal 1 damage to that player. That's good. It's a May ability.
It is a May ability, which is interesting.
You don't have to be mean all the time.
Exactly. And there's also I don't know how many red, like how often you're going to have this guy with a red permanent, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This card is also oddly, it was like $4 or $5, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is the Conflux? A rare from Conflux? Oh, okay, that's like relatively old set.
Yeah. Next up is a very common one, which is Liliana's Caress. It's 1 of anything in a black for whenever an opponent discards a card, they lose 2 life. Mm-hmm. You'll see that a lot.
Yeah, and the next one is Megrim, very similar, 2 and a black for an enchantment. Whenever an opponent discards a card, Megrim deals 2 damage to that player.
And then again, we have Raider's Wake, which is 3 of anything in a black for whenever an opponent discards a card, that player loses 2 life.
Also has Raid.
Yeah. Give your end step. If you attack with a creature this turn, target opponent discards a card. So you can activate it itself if you've attacked with something.
For sure.
A little extra bonus.
Yeah, and like you're swinging around with Kroxa, right? It's this big 6/6.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, next up, last one in this category is Sir Conrad the Grim. It's he's 3 and 2 black for a legendary creature, Human Knight, 5/4. Whenever another creature dies or a creature card is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature card leaves your graveyard, Sir Conrad the Grim deals 1 damage to each opponent. And he has an activated ability. It's 1 and a black for each player puts the top card of their library into their graveyard.
I seem to like this creature because now I've done 2 recent deck checks, and this guy's been in both decks.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
He's in your AR deck.
Yeah, but I think this card's pretty good, and especially for a strategy like this, it just really pays off. And we will see some cards coming up as well where Sir Conrad really shows his strength as well.
Okay, do I sense a Sir Conrad deck in the future?
Maybe. I think he's...
No.
No. He's really good as part of the 99. He just works together with other stuff.
Of course.
Because I could have chose him, but I chose Iaro over Sir Conrad, so...
Yeah, that's right.
So next up, this is the interesting part of the deck. And you can kind of be like... You may be... it's refilling our opponent's hands. So we may be taking cards away, but we're also being nice and trying to give cards back.
Right, because if people can't discard cards, they can't lose life.
That's the thing.
Right?
But you can just be like, I'm friendly. I'm just giving you cards.
Hey, this is like kind of like a group hug.
Yeah.
I'm going to make you discard cards deck.
Yeah.
Yeah. That goes a long way, too. Also, like just using first names, being nice.
Yeah.
This and this package.
Cards.
Yeah.
You want to play some cards?
No, I really love this. But go ahead.
So first up, we have the Gira per Orrery. So this is 4 of anything for an artifact. Each player may play an additional land on each of their turns.
Nice.
So nice little bonus. And then at the beginning of each player's upkeep, if that player has no cards in hand, that player draws 3 cards.
So good in this deck.
Pretty good, yeah.
Because once you get this engine going, there aren't going to be any cards in anybody's hands. So it's just like boom, boom, 3. All right, let's do it again. So next up we have Howling Mine, a classic. It's 2 mana for an artifact. At the beginning of each player's draw step, if Howling Mine is untapped, that player draws an additional card.
Extra cards.
Yeah, nice.
Next up, from the Eldraine set, Rankle, Master of Pranks. This is 2 of anything and 2 black for a 3/3 flying and haste. So we can do it once it comes out. Whenever Rankle, Master of Pranks, deals combat damage to a player, choose any number. Each player discards a card. Each player loses 1 life and draws a card. Each player sacrifices a creature.
All good options.
All good options. I think most of the time you're going to pick the first 2 for sure with this deck. Just depending on your board state, you may not want to sacrifice Rankle himself if he's on the creature you have. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a cool card.
Yeah.
Next up we have Season Perverter of Truths. What a pervert.
Right? Come on.
3 and 2 black for a legendary creature, Demon Spirit. 6/5. That's a good rate.
Good rate, right?
At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player loses 2 life and draws 2 cards. That sounds like a Sign in Blood. Every
turn.
Every turn.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I like that.
Yeah. This is actually a pretty cool card. I didn't know it existed, so.
You know, there's so many cool cards from this, like from the Kamigawa block, that I'll see them and I'll be like, I didn't even know that card existed. And it's really not that old of a block unless I'm like dating myself. I don't know.
I think it is.
Yeah, I guess it's pretty old.
Yeah. In terms of Magic, yeah. So next up we have Spiteful Visions. This is 2 of anything and 2 split Rakdos mana.
Oh yeah, Trev. I've nightmares of this card from his Nekuzar deck.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So it's an enchantment. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. Whenever a player draws a card, Spiteful Visions deals 1 damage to that player. So this kind of stacks up with Fate Unraveler from before, but Fate Unraveler says opponents, while Spiteful Visions is all players. So you will be taking damage from that as well.
Yeah. Okay, and last in this category is Stormfist Crusader, another Eldraine card. It is a black and a red, just like Kroxa, for a human knight 2/2 with menace. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player draws a card and loses 1 life.
So this one's pretty neat because it happens at your upkeep.
Your upkeep, yeah.
Yeah, everyone's drawing a card.
And then on your turn, you can
discard the card.
We can make them do that. Yeah, what we've seen so far.
Yeah.
Oh, I like this deck.
So after that, next up, this is why I want people to have cards in their hand. They're discarding cards. We want to discard a lot of cards a lot.
Doing wheelies.
We're doing wheelies.
Yeah.
So first up in this section, we have 7 of them. So there's Dark Deal, which is 2 of anything and a black for a sorcery. Each player discards all the cards in their hand, then draws that many -1. So not bad.
Yeah, I really like the art on this card. It looks like, for anyone who's seen the movie Solo, it looks like they're like trading like coaxium.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Okay, so next up we have Korvath's Fury. It's 4 and a red for a sorcery. For each player, choose friend or foe. Each friend discards all cards from their hand, then draws that many cards plus 1. Korvath's Fury deals damage to each foe equal to the number of cards in their hand. I really like the friend or foe mechanic. I hope we get another Battle Bond set in the future.
Yeah, it's a really cool mechanic. Mm-hmm. And this one's really fun, too, because you can play this and be like, y'all my friends, right?
Yeah, what a direct way to just, like, make enemies.
Yeah.
You know?
All right, so next up we have the Magus of the Wheel, which is 2 of anything in a red. For a human wizard 3/3, you can pay 1 of anything in a red to tap it and sacrifice the Magus. Each player discards their hand, then draws 7 cards.
Was this in the Anya Falconwrath deck this year?
Maybe.
What is that set symbol?
Yeah, that's
the new one. There's this one and last year was so similar. But this card it got reprinted in Masters 25, but this card used to be like $15 before it was reprinted. So, anyways.
Good card.
Oh, it's a great card. Yeah.
It's also really great because you don't like exile the card, so you can bring it back from your graveyard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Next up, we have one of my favorites, Molten Psyche. It's 1 and 2 red for a sorcery. Each player shuffles the cards from their hand into their library, then draws that many cards. And it also has Metalcraft, so if you control 3 or more artifacts, Molten Psyche deals damage to each opponent equal to the number of cards that player has drawn this turn.
Which is super nice.
Yeah, it's not just the cards Molten Psyche makes you draw.
Yeah. I think with this deck it would be very rare having the Metalcraft go off. It's not the reason it's there in the deck.
Right.
But, yeah.
It is a nice bonus, though, if that
it is a nice
ever
bonus,
happens.
yeah. Next up, we have Reforge the Soul. I really like this one. So it's 3 of anything and 2 red for a sorcery. Each player discards their hand and draws 7 cards. But you can miracle it for 1 of anything and a red. So 2 mana wheel. That's a good rate.
Oh, yeah, that's that's like 1 less than Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
Okay, next up we have Runehorn Hellkite. It is 5 and a red for a dragon, 5/5 with flying, and you can pay 5 and a red to exile Runehorn Hellkite from your graveyard. Each player discards their hand, then draws 7 cards. Wow, I don't even think I've ever seen this card before.
So this one's a little bit more on the pricey end, but just when it's in your graveyard, and like we will be discarding cards and stuff like that as well. You got another one in your graveyard to use.
Oh, you mean pricey in terms of mana cost?
Mana cost, yeah.
That can't be a very expensive card.
No, I don't think so. Talking about expensive cards, though, and probably almost a quarter of the deck's cost.
Yeah.
Is in the next card of Wheel of Fortune. Mm-hmm. So it's just old. In paper, I mean, like you could swap this out for something else if you want to keep the deck, like slash the price.
Sure,
you can just
of course.
look at swapping out Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, and you know, like, and in our like closed meta with our buddies, like you can play proxies, like it's fine. So you can do that too. But even like, you know, like Winds of Change is fine, right? In that
Sure,
card.
yeah.
Because like it's not nothing, but
It's still something, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways,
but so Wheel of Fortune is the classic. 2 of anything in a red. Each player discards their discards their hand, then draws 7 cards.
yeah.
So
The titular wheel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the next category is the fuel.
yeah, so everything's being discarded away, and what do we get out of that?
Okay, first up here we have Bone Miser. Great new card from C20.
Yeah.
No, C19. Doing C20 this year.
Correct.
They're not going to call it C20. It's going to be called C Icoria.
Sequoia.
Icoria, yeah. So Bone Miser is 4 and a black for a zombie wizard, 4/4. Whenever you discard a creature card, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Whenever you discard a land card, add 2 black to your mana pool. And whenever you discard a non-creature, non-land card, draw a card. So it's pretty much hitting everything here.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, so even if you're wheeling away cards in your own hand, you're getting value off them. Because then we do have also Waste Not. So this one's only 1 of anything in a black for an enchantment. And this is all the opponent stuff. So whenever an opponent discards a creature card, you make a black zombie. Opponent discards land, you get 2 mana. And then opponent discards non-creature, non-land, you draw a card. So same thing as Bone Miser, but it's just for your opponents.
Right.
Which you're going to get a lot of value off of when you wheel.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Ooh,
my
boy.
goodness. Oh, that mana. All that black mana.
Oh boy.
Okay, so next up we have Combo. First up here we have Animate Dead. It's 1 and a black for an aura. Enchant creature card in a graveyard. When Animate Dead enters the battlefield, if it's on the battlefield, it loses enchant creature card in a graveyard and gains enchant creature put onto the battlefield with Animate Dead. Return enchanted creature card to the battlefield under your control and attach Animate Dead to it. When Animate Dead leaves the battlefield, that creature's controller sacrifices it. Enchanted creature gets -1/-0.
So you just bring something back from the graveyard.
So I have just an interesting little question about Animate Dead from a game I played recently. So somebody had an Ulamog, the Infinite Gyre, however you say that.
Sure.
Which is Annihilator 4.
Yeah.
And they swung at an opponent. So they had Animate Dead on a creature, and then they had, several other creatures. The Annihilator trigger happens first. It's like an attack trigger, right?
Yep.
So the Annihilator happens. Can you sacrifice the Animate Dead and the creature as 2 permanents?
Yeah.
Because it's happening at the same time.
Exactly. It all happens at the same time. So it's just kind of like a board wipe that would hit creatures and enchantments.
Okay.
It's just all gone at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, and that's what we ended up doing. But that just occurred to me because I'm looking at Animate Dead.
And you're like, hey, what the heck?
What a great card.
So next up, we just talked about Animate Dead, and we have Necromancy, which pretty much does the same thing. So it's 2 of anything in a black for an enchantment. You may cast it as though that had flash, though, which is a little bit different. Mm-hmm. If you cast it at any time, if you cast it for flash, basically you have to sack the permanent at the beginning of the next end step. Mm-hmm. And then if you just regularly cast Necromancy, when it enters the battlefield, you attach it to a creature, that creature comes out, and then Necromancy becomes an aura attached to that creature.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Next up, we have World Gorger Dragon. It's 3 and 3 red for a Nightmare Dragon, 7/7. It has Flying Trample, and when World Gorger Dragon enters the battlefield, exile all other permanents you control. When World Gorger Dragon leaves the battlefield, return the exiled cards to the battlefield under their owner's control.
So for anybody
what's going on here?
So for anybody who doesn't know the World Gorger Dragon combo, so how it works is we're going to use one of the previous cards we just talked about, Animate Dead or Necromancy. So we want World Gorger Dragon in our graveyard.
Right.
And then we cast either Animate Dead or Necromancy. That enters the battlefield. Then we choose World Gorger Dragon. World Gorger Dragon comes out, and then everything goes away.
Yes.
But then because the enchantment on World Gorger goes away, says we have to sacrifice him. We sacrifice him. Everything comes back out. And then at that point, before we choose to bring World Gorger Dragon back out, we can tap all of our lands to make more mana.
Right.
And so doing this loop, you just create infinite mana.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So it's an infinite mana combo. So it kind of works with either of those cards. Can be really, really nice.
But you would also get the enter the battlefield triggers, right? So
you would. So if you have anything that has an ETB trigger on it,
right,
that was on the battlefield when World Gorger Dragon comes in, you're going to keep getting that ETB trigger as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a really neat little combo.
I'm kidding.
And then so there's 2 other cards in our section here. And they both work in the other same way. So it's like if you have one of these other cards and you have this combo that you can activate,
right,
you pretty much win the game here.
Yeah, and those cards are Comet Storm and Grey Merchant of Asphodel. So I'll read Comet Storm.
Sure.
It's X and 2 red for an instant. It has multi-kicker 1, so you may pay an additional 1 any number of times as you cast the spell. And choose any target, then choose another target for each time this spell was kicked. Comet Storm deals X damage to each of them.
So recreate infinite mana. We just use the infinite mana into Comet Storm. Everyone's dead.
Great.
Yeah. And then the other one works off the ETBs. So Grey Merchant of Asphodel, 3 of anything and 2 black. When he enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life, where X is your devotion to black, and you gain life equal to the life lost this way.
Yeah.
So even if it's just him, you just infinitely loop the World Gorger Dragon, and you're getting 2 life from everybody every time.
Yeah, and I really like this style of deck building where the deck overall has a theme and a strategy where you're slowly like draining everybody out, right? And that's generally what's going to be happening. Mm-hmm. But it's always good to have kind of like an off switch, right? Like if you're going to do plumbing work on your house, you turn off the water first. Yes. You know what I mean? So it's like it's always good to just have that like off switch.
Yeah.
If it happens, or if you're in black, you can just search for it if need be. But I really do. I like this style of deck building.
Cool.
All right, so let's move on to the support cards.
Yeah, support, synergy, any word you want for it.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
So first up, we have Angrath, the Flame Chained. It's 3, a black and a red for a legendary planeswalker with 4 loyalty. His +1 is each opponent discards a card and loses 2 life. His -3 is gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap it. It gains haste until end of turn. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step if it has converted mana cost 3 or less. Okay, so you don't... And its -8 is each opponent loses life equal to the number of cards in their graveyard. Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow, what a great fit.
Yeah, and he's really nice too because the +1, even if they don't have a card, they're still losing 2 life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they do discard a card and you have other discard
Some of our
effects,
enchantments out there or whatever,
yeah,
they're
that
taking
could,
even more damage.
Yeah, that could really do damage for sure.
So yeah, really, really nice. Next up, we have a fun card that I've wanted to cast in Commander. It's Burning Inquiry, so it's 1 red for a sorcery. Each player draws 3 cards, then discards 3 cards at random.
That's rough. At random.
At random.
It's like a triple gamble without the tutor effect.
Yeah. Shenanigans will happen.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Okay, next up we have Command the Dreadhorde. It's 4 and 2 black for a sorcery. Choose any number of target creatures and or planeswalker cards in graveyards. Command the Dreadhorde deals damage to you equal to the total converted mana cost of those cards. Put them onto the battlefield under your control.
So we're going to be
I totally forgot about this card.
Yeah. And people's graveyard is going to be getting filled. And then, just take the best stuff.
Oh, they're going to be juicy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Next up is an interesting card I didn't know existed. So Geth's Grimoire is 4 of anything for an artifact. Whenever an opponent discards a card, you may draw a card.
Have you seen any of those? Excuse me. Have you seen any of those deck boxes that are like grimoires? Right, like I think you can get them on. They're like websites, but they're like wood deck boxes. There's one guy that I've seen, at least in the city, that has one. They're very. I mean, not for me. I like the Ultimate Guard archives, but they're very cool because it's like a big grimoire.
That's super cool.
Big book.
So you could probably get this guy.
For sure.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Glinthorn Buccaneer. It's 1 and 2 red for a Minotaur Pirate, 2/4 with haste. Whenever you discard a card, Glinthorn Buccaneer deals 1 damage to each opponent, and you can pay 1 in a red, discard a card, draw a card, activate this ability only if Glinthorn Buccaneer is attacking. That's a fun word, Buccaneer.
Buccaneer. But this one's pretty neat because people take damage just from you discarding cards, so...
Right, and it's all built in, right? Because you can also discard cards with him.
Yes,
which is always great.
So next up we have Mirage Mirror, which is 3 of anything for an artifact. Has an ability, which is 2 of anything. Mirage Mirror becomes a copy of target artifact, creature, enchantment, or land until end of turn.
Yeah, you really wouldn't be wrong to put Mirage Mirror in any commander deck. It's almost like a Soul Ring kind of include. I don't put it in every deck, but like it's that good.
It's just so versatile.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And especially in this deck, it's really nice because then if you have one of the enchantments where everyone takes 2 from discarding, you can no matter what double it up with Mirage Mirror as well. So
yeah, and it's just it's target, right? So you can hit opponent stuff. It's all you could turn it into a Guy's Cradle. Right? Like you can turn it into anything.
Do something like that. Or then if you're just using it as the enchantment base, and then you can leave Mirage Mirror back as a blocker for yourself as well.
Yeah.
So you can turn it into a creature and block with it. So super good.
Next up, we have Neheb the Eternal. 3 and 2 red for a legendary creature, zombie Minotaur Warrior, 4/6. He has Afflict 3, so that is whenever this creature becomes blocked, defending player loses 3 life. And at the beginning of your post-combat main phase, add a red to your mana pool for each 1 life your opponents have lost this turn. This is a great... I remember when this card came out, like this was like mono red ramp.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
This can actually be really scary because if you wheel and you have like Megrim out or something like that, right? If people take like 30 damage, which isn't that many cards, it's only 15 cards in total from 3 people.
That's like Comet Storm range.
Yeah,
right there.
There we go.
Yeah, got him.
He's definitely a really nice mana generator for the deck. So
Oh, he's so good.
yeah, so good.
Yeah.
That card is actually, I think, even kind of undervalued at how good
It probably
it is.
is.
Yeah.
It probably is. And it's a mythic from a set that was, I think overall it was a little, because it's Hour of Devastation.
Yeah, I think that was still open pretty much.
It was. Well, it had that was the
Was that
last set we had lottery
Invocations?
cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but just a solid card. Even the new one, the new one from War of the Spark is still pretty good. I mean, I don't think it would be like that. It'd be okay in this deck.
yeah,
But,
I had him in here as well, but as I was doing cuts, it was like, sorry.
but yeah, this is by far like the better. It's just the ramp is so. If you've never played with Neheb in like a red deck, like the ramp is real.
The ramp is real.
Let me tell you.
All right, so next up we have Painful Quandary. So this is 3 of anything and 2 black for an enchantment. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player loses 5 life unless they discard a card.
This card is devastating.
Ugh.
Even
Ugh.
if it wasn't in this deck, which is all about getting value off of discarding cards, it's so rough.
It's a rough card.
Yeah, like
Because like 5 life really adds up.
yeah, that's an eighth of your health.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
every time you cast a spell, unless you pitch a card.
Yeah.
But yeah, this card, man, I mean, I think this card is probably like maybe around $15 to $20, but I really don't see it played that often. And like playing it, there's no downside because it only hits opponents.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, this is just such a great card.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, next up we have Perpetual Timepiece. Okay, yeah, I see what you're doing here. So it's two mana for an artifact. You can tap it to put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard, or you can pay 2, exile Perpetual Timepiece, shuffle any number of target cards from your graveyard into your library. Mm-hmm. So you don't shuffle those lands in, hey? Just leave them in
Exactly.
the yard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also just with all the discarding happening and other things like that, this is also just a way to like, kind of like save yourself from milling.
Oh yeah, like I definitely run Perpetual Timepiece and other like Elixir of Immortality type effects in like my Unesh deck where I'm just drawing so many cards.
Yeah.
Right? And also discarding because it's like a fact or fiction kind of thing.
Totally. And this card also works really nice in this deck because, I mean, like people can always run Titans to protect themselves from milling.
Yep.
But using the Perpetual Timepiece, because we will be at points of the game where we want to be able to cast Kroxa from our graveyard.
Yeah.
And so if we just automatically put everything back for some reason, you can't do that. So this kind of gives you control over being able to recast the commander from the graveyard as well for the escape cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I do like that it's target.
Yes,
Target. I want to choose.
totally. So next up, we definitely talk about this card a lot more recently, I think.
Yeah.
Rise of the Dark Realms.
Mm-hmm.
So 7 of anything and 2 black. Put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. It's a sorcery, by the way. So we're wheeling everybody's hands. Graveyard's getting full. Let's just get everything back.
Yeah. Yeah. This is this is a potential win con.
It is actually a potential win con as well because later on we will see there's something that goes with it. But yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next up we have Sangromancer. It's 2 and 2 black for a Vampire Shaman 3/3 with flying. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you may gain 3 life. Whenever an opponent discards a card, you may gain 3 life. Okay, gaining some life here.
Yep.
I like it.
Yeah. You just never know. There's a lot of things that we're taking incidental damage from and stuff like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So 1 card for some life gain here can't help. So next up is
It certainly can't hurt.
Can't hurt. Thank you. So next up we have the Sire of Insanity. So this is 4 of anything and a black and a red for a 6/4 demon. At the beginning of each end step, each player discards their hand.
Kalia,
Just
right? I think
Yeah.
that's the first time I saw this was playing
Yeah.
against Kalia.
yeah.
It's like, oh no.
No one's gonna have a hand for a while.
Yeah. But yeah, this is this was definitely on my short list for like Zoncha cards to put in, but it didn't quite make the cut of like the high CMC cards that I want to put in. But yeah, this is just like this is perfect in this deck.
Oh yeah.
'Cause you got to make them hungry for those cards.
You do, yeah. This seems like a little unfun to play against this card in general, because like now you're just discarding people's hands all the time, and this is like ugh, it's rough.
Yeah, that could be unfun, but I guess you could just like scoop,
Yeah.
right? It's like, okay, I'm just going to...
It's the end of this.
Next up, we have Strionic Resonator, one of my favorite cards. It's 2 mana for an artifact. You can pay 2, tap it, copy target triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. So there's so many triggered abilities that we've already talked about in this deck.
Totally.
And Strionic Resonator is one of the only cards that does this kind of thing.
It is, yeah.
But it's really great in, especially like with cast triggers, right? Because, but like really any triggers are just... This card is amazing.
And then also just obviously it works really well with the Titan himself as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
just
right.
the attack trigger. Mm-hmm. Boom. So next up we have the Haunt of Hightower. So he's 4 of anything and 2 black for a 3/3 vampire. It's not the best rate.
Wasn't this the promo? If you bought a box of...
You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. So he is flying in lifelink, and then whenever the Haunt of Hightower attacks defending player, they discard a card. But also, whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, put a 1/1 counter on the Haunt of Hightower.
Okay, so if, this gets going, that power toughness is going to get up to that mana cost.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
You just need 1 wheel. You're good to go.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, moving on to the next category here, we have upkeep triggers.
Yeah.
Bloodchief Ascension. One black for an enchantment. At the beginning of each end step, if an opponent lost 2 or more life this turn, you may put a quest counter on Bloodchief Ascension. Whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, if Bloodchief Ascension has 3 or more quest counters on it, you may have that player lose 2 life. If you do, you gain 2 life. That's a nice, incidental life gain machine while you're draining your opponents.
You're draining them and you're gaining life. I just noticed that this one is actually end step.
At the beginning of each end step.
Yeah.
As opposed to because it's upkeep triggers category. I'm sure the listeners will forgive us for that.
Yeah, they'll understand. But yeah, this is a nice one, obviously, because we are discarding all those cards anyways. So
yeah, and it's not going to take long to get because each end step. It really won't take long if you have some of these pieces out.
Oh yeah. Next up, we have the Koskun Falls.
Great card.
Love this card.
Yeah.
So 2 of anything and 2 black for a world enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice the falls unless you tap an untapped creature you control, and then creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each attacking creature that's attacking you.
Yeah, just great. Propaganda in black. All you have to do is tap one of your creatures that isn't going to be blocking. So
yeah,
don't sweat it.
And I mean, I think with this kind of deck, you're going to have a lot of people looking your way. So it's nice to have a little bit of defense there and have to go through something.
Definitely. So next up we have Palace Siege. It's 3 and 2 black for an enchantment. As Palace Siege enters the battlefield, choose Khans or Dragons. If you choose Khans, at the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Nice. And if you choose Dragons, at the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life.
I think both options are pretty decent.
I don't know what I'd choose.
Yeah. It depends on where you are in the game, but yeah. Next up, we have Quest for the Nile Stone. So it's an enchantment. Whenever an opponent discards a card, you may put a quest counter on Quest for the Nile Stone. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if that player has no cards in hand and Quest for the Nile Stone has 2 or more quest counters on it, you may have that player lose 5 life.
Oof.
5 life.
That's rough.
Cool.
But it is a May ability, so if you got a little deal going, a little dealio.
I won't let this one deal damage to you, don't worry.
That's kind of fun. Next up, we have Stolen Strategy. It's 4 and a red for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of each opponent's library. Until end of turn, you may cast non-land cards from among those exiled cards, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast those cards. Nice. Just
this is kind of more of a fun spell in the deck.
Yeah, and it does give you pseudo card advantage.
And that's also draining your opponents more of the cards from their library as well, which is kind of what the deck is doing to begin with. So
yeah, nice.
Yeah. So next up we have some haste enablers.
Gotta have that.
Yeah. So we have Anger, which is 3 of anything in a red. As long as Anger is in your graveyard and you control a mountain, creatures you control have haste.
Yeah, and it's going to be easy enough to discard Anger into your graveyard.
Or even if it's on the battlefield, we do have a way to sacrifice it, so...
Yep, for sure. Or you can make a little deal with someone.
Yep.
You attack, I'll block with Anger. What do you think? Next up, we have Chainer Nightmare Adept. It's 2 and a black and a red for a legendary creature, human minion. Oh, this is one of the lieutenant commanders from the Anya deck. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
He's a 3/2. Discard a card. You may cast a creature card from your graveyard this turn. Activate this ability only once each turn. Ugh. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if you didn't cast it from your hand, it gains haste until your next turn. That's nice that they give it to you until your next turn.
That's really nice. Yeah, a lot of times they don't do that kind of thing. So
It would probably be broken if you could only activate the first ability, or if you could do it multiple times.
it would be very broken.
Yeah.
Because actually, Chainer works very well with Magus of the Wheel. Because then when you
Right.
have haste, you can just
Yeah,
do that right away.
yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
So you can infinitely just wheel.
Yeah, that's pretty good, I guess.
And then next up, we have the Hammer of Perfuro. So it's a legendary enchantment artifact. Creatures you control have haste. It does also have 2 and a red to tap and sack a land to make a 3/3 golem.
Yeah, that's not.
We won't be using that very often, though.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely not.
But the haste also goes very well with Rise of the Dark Realms. So it's just kind of like a win.
Yeah, because if Anger's in your graveyard and you play Rise of the Dark Realms, Anger's gonna be back out on the field.
That's a little bit of a Nombo weird part about it.
Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do? Okay, next up we have card draws, and I like that you put tutors in here, but you don't have Vampiric Tutor.
I don't.
Which is card disadvantage. So the first one we have here is Demonic Tutor. It's 1 and a black for a sorcery. Search your library for a card, put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library. Nice and clean.
Nice and clean. Then we also have Diabolic Tutor, which is 2 of anything and 2 black for a sorcery to search your library for a card, put that card in your hand, and shuffle your library.
Yeah, it's a 4 mana Demonic Tutor.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So next up we have Entomb. It's 1 mana, 1 black mana for an instant. Search your library for a card and put that card into your graveyard, then shuffle your library.
Entomb is in here just so that you have like another copy of the Rolled Gorger Dragon.
Yes.
Because we just need him in the graveyard.
Right,
so.
right, yeah.
Yeah. And then you can also use it in the other times where it's like, hey, I don't have Anger yet. Let's get Anger in the graveyard. All my stuff has haste.
Yeah.
That's also really nice too. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
What a great card.
Next up is Faithless Looting. Solid sorcery. 1 red. Draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards, and has flashback. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Next up, we have Siphon Mind. It's 3 and a black for a sorcery. Each other player discards a card. You draw a card for each card discarded this way. I think we talked about this in our budget cards episode, like way back.
I think so, yeah.
But this is such a great card.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, this whole like cycle of cards where it's like everybody does something and then like you get to do it plus everyone else's.
Yeah.
It's just so powerful. And they're also going to be taking damage or just bad things are going to happen when they discard cards. I think that's been made pretty clear. Yeah.
You're discarding cards, bad things happen. So then, as I think we were talking about on our last episode, it's good to have some board wipes in the deck. This deck just has 2 at the moment, so we have Blasphemous Act, which is 8 of anything in a red. For this spell, costs 1 less to cast for each creature on the battlefield, and then Blasphemous Act deals 13 damage to each creature.
Generally costs 1.
Yes,
To
pretty much.
to cast in game.
Yeah, you're paying 1 to deal 13 to everything.
Yeah. Next up, we have Damnation. It's 2 and 2 black for a sorcery. Destroy all creatures. They can't be regenerated. Just a white Wrath of God.
Yep, or black Wrath of God.
It's a black Wrath of God. Oh boy.
Next up, also some snipe threats or target removal, as we could say.
Snipe boys.
Yeah, so we have Bedevil, which is 2 black and a red for an instant. Destroy target artifact, creature, or planeswalker.
Yeah, I was surprised this didn't see more play in like constructed formats, but I guess it's 3 mana.
It definitely saw play in standard.
It's just like because like the only deck I've really played in the last couple of years in Modern is Tron. So like whenever I see a card and it's like, oh, this could be bad for Tron, I'm like, I hope no one plays it. Like that like that new what was that card? It was like that Azorius Human that made it so like you couldn't cast spells that had a higher CMC than the amount of lands you controlled. And I was like, man, I hope Humans doesn't play that. And it's like nobody plays Humans in our local meta, so I don't even know what I was worried about.
You're like, oh, fine. But Bedevil I wouldn't see with like just Modern's too fast for it. But definitely in standard Bedevil. I think even maybe in Pioneer Bedevil seeing play. So it's a good card.
It is a great card. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I run it in Commander decks. Just like that amount of flexibility
Oh, yeah.
is great. And especially, we're in red, so it's always easy to hit artifacts, but it's nice to be able to do it in like a deck that's clearly more black than red. But next up, we have Terminate. It's a red and black for an instant. Destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated.
Solid.
Boom.
So next up, we have some mana ramping because we do have some bigger spells in the deck. So we have Black Market, which is 3 of anything and 2 black. Whenever a creature... It's an enchantment. Whenever a creature dies, put a charge counter on Black Market. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, add black mana for each charge counter on Black Market.
Do the charge counters just stay on Black Market as long as it's on the field?
Yep.
How much does that card cost now? I'm going to look it up on...
Yeah, I think it's getting up there a little bit.
$10.99 on Card Kingdom. Mercadian Mask. Ooh, what do you think the foil costs from Mercadian Mask?
55.
Whoa! Wow. $54.99.
Yo!
Card Kingdom. Wow. Jeez. That's
guess.
crazy. Okay, so we're going to move on to the Cryptghast. Cryptghast is 3 no black for a spirit, 2/2. It has Extort. So whenever you cast a spell, you may pay black. If you do, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain that much life. Whenever you tap a swamp for mana, add an additional black.
Sweet.
So yeah, if you made all your land swamps, you tapping for red, also get a little
Also
swamp in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, rounding out the deck, we do have some mana rocks in here.
Just a few.
Just a few. Arcane Signet, tap to make any color in your commander's entity. Always good. It's 2 to play it.
Yeah, and I imagine it'll get... the price has dropped quite a bit. Like, I think it's closer to $5 now. But I think if we get more Brawl decks and if they start putting it in Commander decks, which they really should, among other mana rocks,
Should even out.
hopefully it even... Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So next up, we have Dockside Extortionist. Not a mana rock itself, but he does make mana rocks.
Yes.
So he's 1 and a red for a Goblin Pirate, 1/2. When Dockside Extortionist enters the battlefield, create X treasure tokens, where X is the number of artifacts and enchantments your opponents control. And if you don't know, treasure tokens are artifacts with tap. Sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is like a pretty expensive card from like the C19 decks. I think it's about like $20 USD right now.
Which is pretty crazy.
It is, yeah, but it's really, really, really good.
It really ramps because like everyone always plays mana rocks, so you're always going to get value off this.
And also like enchantments.
Yes.
Right? Like those are like, I've probably said this 100 times, but like those are the cards that bring like the most value and can sometimes be the most impactful in Commander is artifacts and enchantments. And enchantments are the hardest permanent to remove.
Yes, they are.
Right? So they just like, they really stick.
Yeah. They stick a lot more time than
artifacts
especially
do.
artifacts.
Yeah.
So then we have Gilded Lotus, which is a 5-mana artifact, which taps for 3 mana of any color.
That's right. And then we have a Rakdos Signet, 2 mana for an artifact. Pay 1, tap, add a black and a red to your mana pool.
Soul Ring. 2-1 Soul Ring.
Got to.
Yeah.
Got to put it in. But you don't have to put it in every deck. Just disclaimer. Next, we have Talisman of Indulgence. So happy that they completed this cycle with Modern Horizons.
I kind of threw this in mostly just for you.
Yes.
I was like, gotta put that Talisman in there.
So Talisman is 2 mana for an artifact. You can tap it for a colorless, or you can tap it for a black or red, and Talisman of Indulgence deals 1 damage to you. Okay, so we're moving on to the lands.
Yeah. So let's go over mostly utility lands, and then the other ones we can kind of...
Yeah, this is like the least interesting but most important part of the deck. It's ironic.
Yeah. And there's some cool stuff in here. So, first up, we have the Castle Lochthwain. So
such a good card.
Such a good card.
Yeah.
Enters tapped unless you have another swamp, which you probably will. It taps for swamp, and then you can pay 1 of anything and 2 black to draw a card, and then you lose life equal to the cards in your hand.
The number of cards in your hand.
The number of cards in your hand, yeah. So be careful when you use this. Sometimes you may take a little more damage than you're thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Next up, we have Gyre Reach Sanitarium. It's a legendary land. It taps for a colorless, or you can pay 2 and tap it. Each player draws a card, then discards a card. So good.
There we go. It's getting that engine going for all of our enchantments and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's great.
Next up is a Memorial to Folly. So this is a land that does enter tapped, and then it taps for black, but we do have the ability to pay 2 and a black, and you sacrifice the Memorial to return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So,
Yeah. Yeah, the whole Memorial cycle was pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, at least the red, blue, and black ones were good.
yeah.
Next up, we have Mikokoro, Center of the Sea. Another legendary land. Taps for a colorless, or you can pay 2, tap it. Each player draws a card. So that's nice. I'm being, like, Eric's being nice to you.
Yeah. You want to draw more cards, right? That's what we're here for. Then we have Reliquary Tower. So you have no max hand size. Always good to have, especially with the Geth's Grimoire.
Absolutely, yeah. Next up, we have Rick's Mahdi, Dungeon Palace. Taps for a colorless, or you can pay 1, a black, and a red, and tap it. Each player discards a card. You can activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery. That's just great having that on a land.
Discard card.
Yeah.
You can, and then so what you can do is you can tap Mikokoro, everyone draws a card, and then tap the Rick's Mahdi, everyone discards a card.
There's something that's so like safe feeling about having activated abilities on lands because we so rarely lose lands.
Yeah.
Right? It's still it's a clear and present danger, but it's not. It just feels so much more safe than having a mana rock with an activated ability.
Totally. And that's also kind of funny because like you see other decks like run Garbage Sanitariums. You're like, I'm just helping you go through your deck.
Yeah.
You
no.
might be taking some damage.
Yeah, don't worry. That's fine. You have 40 life. It's fine.
Yeah. Next up is the good old Strip Mine, which taps for colorless, but you can also tap it to sack it and destroy target land.
Yeah. And you're going to.
Always good to have one.
Yeah. Always good. Next up, we have Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. Legendary land. Each land is a swamp in addition to its other land types. So this is going to help with Cryptghast for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the bum lands.
Yeah, and again, like we don't really have to talk about all these guys. Like, there's an Ancient Tomb in here for some mana ramps.
Oh yeah, for sure. And there's a lot of cards in this deck that just cost like 1 colorless or 1 colored mana, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would totally put Ancient Tomb in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we've got like the dual lands like Blood Crypt. We've got the Bloodstained Mire for fetch, Command Tower, Dragon's Skull Summit, Luxury Suite. The Battle Bond lands, they got to complete that cycle.
Oh yes, they do.
Yeah, Prismatic Vista, nice because sometimes you got to go get it.
Yep.
But yeah, and then 6 mountains, 10 swamps, just 25. Well, you got 33 lands, right?
33
lands. And I mean, like, that's a little light, but like,
it's a little light.
But you're also like, you have so much card draw that I think
that was my idea.
It's not going to be a problem.
When I was looking at this, I was like, 33 is a little light. There are mana rocks in the deck, and then there's a lot of like card draw, especially with the wheels and stuff to get you through your deck.
Yeah. Yeah, and like it's a little light on the removal, but I think like with all the like draining effects you have and like just taking cards out of people's hands before they even have an ability to use them, I think that is a powerful form of removal on its own, right? Because if you don't even have to, it's like a counterspell, right? It's a form of removal. You don't even have to worry about it because it's not even going to become a problem.
So it really limits people in terms of like being able to keep cards in hands and like have a certain plan of when to go off and things like that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're playing a combo deck, it's really rough going against this deck if you have a combo deck.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because you're just going to have a bad time.
No kidding. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, I really... I just love this deck because we just don't see this kind of a strategy
a lot
across the table very often. Yeah, but yeah, it just seems like a ton of fun. And it's not... What's the average CMC? Yeah, it's a little high, but
It's 3.6. There's 33 lands in the deck. Again, like I would like to play it and test it and see how it goes.
Oh yeah,
obviously.
And, like, you always end up making cuts and things like that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then just to throw it out there, card Deckstats is saying it's around 465 US.
Yeah, and TCG Player and Card Kingdom.
Yeah, on both those guys. A way to really cut out a lot of costs on this deck. Like we said before, Wheel of Fortune. And then also if you get rid of the Prismatic Vista.
Oh, and like Ancient Tomb.
And the Bloodstained Mire.
Yeah.
And then the Ancient Tomb.
That's like $150 right there.
Yeah.
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 So
can really like take the cost down the deck. And
so if you do that and you take out Wheel of Fortune, so that's about $300, maybe $350.
Wheel of Fortune I know is like $100 by itself, and then like
Yeah.
Prismatic Vista, because of like Pioneer, or I mean Modern, I think is up there with like $20-$30.
Oh yeah, I think it's like 30.
Myers like $30.
Myers over 30. Ancient Tombs back over 30 again.
Yeah, so that's like almost 200.
So yeah, yep, for sure. Take out all those, and you got yourself a relatively under $200 deck for sure. But yeah, just a fun, super fun deck, Eric. I really like it.
Cool, yeah. I would like to play this deck. Seems fun.
All right, well, we are going to wrap it up, and we just want to thank all of you for listening and for following us on all the various platforms. If you want to get in touch with us, you can email us on Gmail at turn1soaringthepodcast@gmail.com. But you'll probably get a faster response if you find us on Instagram at turn1soaringthepodcast. And also, we are doing our February giveaway now. So we're giving away a Theros Beyond Death Collector's Booster.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's pretty spicy. And we're also going to be giving away a couple of custom foil signets that we got sent to us by another Instagram account that will be in the description if you want to check them out. You can find the podcast on all the podcast platforms, including YouTube. And yeah, that's about it.
That's about it for today.
Yeah. All right. Well, we appreciate each and every one of you, and we will talk to you very soon.
Thanks to listen to us ramble.
Bye now.
Bye.
Turn one soul ring.